lot of these complex workflows that fall in this bottom corner, where the complexity is very high and the amount of data you can train on to learn the process of reasoning is scarce, is where a lot of interesting things happen. And also human collaboration is one of the complexities that exist here, because a lot of the tasks that are here are tasks that usually a few humans have to put their thoughts and knowledge together and skills together to do something. And I wanted to do specifically on those tasks that require currently multiple humans to work together to achieve that objective that they have. Usually in those types of use cases, what creates complexity is that there's a tension between the amount of information that is available to process and the amount of communication that exists between the humans involved in that workflow. And human cognitive performance is optimum somewhere in the middle. If there is too much information, we can't really handle that well. We get overwhelmed. If there is too much communication, we just get confused about what the priority is. Same with the little one. If there is very little communication, we don't really know what the priority is and where we should go. And not because of the overwhelm, but because we just don't have enough information. Same with the information. If you don't have access to the right data, documents, and whatever, then we cannot make good decisions. So it is optimum for humans to operate here, somewhere in the middle, where there's just the right amount of information and the right amount of communication with teammates or stakeholders that make things more efficient. I'll give you some examples to make this a little more grounded. Infinite number of meetings, and that could have been emails, plus a lot of data to deal with is a typical problem that corporate innovation teams have, and that's what makes them pretty inefficient. You just have too much communication, way more than it is necessary, and also the amount of data that you have might be just too much. You might have data that is not really necessary for your use case and you're trying to use it, or you might not have the tools to deal with it. This bottom right corner is where startup founders usually hang out. They have a lot of information to sort through and understand what's going on about their customers, about their product, about how technology is moving. And often, in a lot of cases, the startup founders fall really short on communicating. Talking with each other, talking with the stakeholders, investors, customers, etc. That's definitely interesting. That's why a lot of startups don't work, because they're here instead of where they should be optimally. Traditional sales falls on the other end. They spend a lot of time talking to customers, but not enough time processing data that can help them be more efficient. That's a very good example of why a lot of traditional sales processes are not very efficient. And of course, these are examples. There are many other workflows that could exist. I struggle to come up with an example for this bottom corner, but I think teams of interns that are recently hired is a good example of that. Nobody cares about them. They're just sitting in a corner doing their own thing, etc. Role of tools of knowledge work in general is to help people essentially manage a larger amount of information or solve their information scarcity problem, or streamline their communications so that they can access relevant and timely information and communication. And the outcome of this is that the tool, for example, AI agents in the case of what we're talking about here, really focus on exploiting patterns, because that's what they're good at. If there's something that you can use software to streamline, you're really exploiting the fact that pattern is repeatable, reusable, etc. And that's what AI agents will be good at as well. That's what they take to the next level, exploiting existing patterns, and maybe they can do it for a much larger range of patterns. But ultimately, that's what they're doing, and that's what they're good at. And the hope is that if you use tools that allows humans to focus on what they're good at, and if we can set the systems right using these parameters, then we are going to be in a regime where humans mostly focus on what they're cognitively good at and delegate a lot of other stuff that need to happen to tools, including AI agents. And then the combination of the two will become a very effective system, hopefully even approaching the small team unicorn that we promised at the beginning. That's really where we're going with this.